G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists do what they do.
Okay folks, well we are still in the wonderful state of Utah in the United States, and we're in a little town called Vernal, which is a fantastic place. It's really famous for dinosaur fossils, and we're going to be spending the day with a wonderful watercolour artist today, a lady that I've just recently met but I think is an absolutely dear human being, Deana Millican.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It's a fantastic area. We have been treated so well by the people in your town, and you've organised a lot of this for us. But your late and darling, wonderful husband, John, was an inspiration to you in many situations, and was part and parcel of the legacy that he left you was to fulfil your dream as an artist and go forth and do what you want to do. And that's part of the reason that we're here today. Your love of watercolour, you teach as well.
Yes. And
you help to rehabilitate people as well. I mean, tell me about the satisfaction in doing something like that.
You know, we all struggle in life. We all have those times in our lives when, you know, you just give up. And you think, you know, what is there really to wake up to every morning? And if you can pull out paints or any kind of, even with music, anything, that we can kind of get out of reality a little bit.
Yeah.
And get into something that's creative and we're feeling our inner self. I think that's what art's all about. That's what music's all about. The rehabilitation is, I'm hoping with my art that I can help people who have struggled also, and we all do, to have the opportunity to just get up at maybe 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning and say, yes, I can go paint.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that you do is for other people as well. You paint for people, you paint for your friends, you know, and it's part of the fact that you can give back to them through your art, which I think is great. But the whole area, I just love the Vernal area. You've got bike riding around here, you've got camping, river rafting. You were telling me some of the river rafting trips can go for like 21 days.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Got great restaurants, so for a little town, it's really quite amazing that, and everybody, you know, everybody pulls together. It's really quite fantastic. So, but we're going to talk about that as we go along anyway. There's a whole bunch of things that we're going to discuss through the show today. But Deena is actually going to be painting in watercolour the great American symbol. Actually, Ben Franklin didn't want the bald eagle to be chosen, he wanted the turkey to be chosen.
I'm glad I'm not doing a turkey.
So you're not doing a turkey. But we are going to do a bald eagle today that I think is just sweep through the water. Deena's made a start, she's got a fantastic photo, and she's made a really positive start on the picture. I'm going to get out of shot as usual, and I'm going to let Deena take over and show you what she's going to do.
Thank you. I first of all get a very good photo, and sometimes I'll take those photos, but a lot of times I will use somebody else's photo that gives me permission to use that photo. This photo is the bald eagle photo that I got from Ryan Kelly. I've already drawn it, freehanded it, and then I'll use, ta-da, this transfer paper, sunny side down, and I'll put that on my watercolor paper. The reason I do that is that if I make mistakes on my drawing paper, I can erase it. I do not want to erase on my watercolor paper. It will decrease the tooth on the paper. And so I put this down, and I will put my drawing here, and I'll draw it. Contour drawing, I don't do any shading at all, and I don't want to do a lot because it might show through the watercolor, which is okay to a point, but you don't want to see every little detail of your drawing. And so I'll use that, take this off, check it, make sure I've got what I want. This is my palette. You know, a lot of people think you have to go out and buy a whole bunch of paint. You really don't. Red, yellow, and blue, and you're done. And you can make your secondaries, you can go to your tertiaries, but in fact, a lot of times I will make my own green out of the yellow and blue because the green is just a hard one to get a good color on. But I've used this palette, I bet I've used this palette for probably 15 years. One thing that's really important is artist tape. You use masking tape, it'll peel off. If you use blue or green tape, it detracts your eyeball from what you're painting. So use white tape. White tape's really important to use. Okay, let's get started painting. I'm going to go into the head first of all. And I want to get that head really, really dark so that I know where I'm going. I've used the browns, the blues, so I'm going to go in here. I don't want uniformity. I want to have these feathers look like feathers. They need to be coming different directions, different shapes, the spaces. And what this is kind of called is negative painting. And so you got to work fast. With watercolor, you don't sit around and watch it dry. You got to keep moving.
But a lot of the work that you do is very, very influenced by the area that you live in as well.
Yes.
And your background. Even as a young girl growing up on a fruit farm, you've got a piece called A Peach of a Deal. And you were saying before that you used to get up early in the morning, which nobody likes to do, and go out picking fruit. So.
It was one of those things where Dad got us up at 5 in the morning, and we didn't stay out late much because we knew he'd get us up early. But we'd do fruit, pick fruit, sort apples in the fall. Great life. We learned how to work, and I give my dad and my mom a lot of credit for my artwork. My dad painted.
So what would your favourite subject be with your painting?
My favourite subject, honestly, would be figure drawing and portrait. Mm-hmm. And those are my weaknesses. So I would like to take more classes in figure and portrait.
Yeah, you've got a lovely piece that is painted of your grandson, who was the adopted boy of your lovely children, Chris and Lorna. And it's a fantastic little piece. He's supposed to be a bit of a rascal, isn't he?
He is a rascal for sure. Yeah, he's 4 years old and he's full of it, as most little 4-year-olds. But what a blessing in our family. They asked me over in a city close by us if I would come and teach some art classes this summer. So we decided to have an art camp with adults and students and young people. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I just loved it. And I thought, why don't I go back to my hometown here where I live and start teaching art classes? And I have, and it's been so fulfilling for me.
Well, that's part of the beauty of being in Vernal, is that you've got a really thriving, growing arts community as well. And you can hike around here, you can go out to see where the petroglyphs are, and obviously the dinosaur bones, and seeing that whole wall. I went up there the other day, and that whole wall of dinosaurs that existed 149 million years ago. It's just a fascinating thing to see, it really is. It's
amazing. We live in a beautiful area.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, I was just amazed when I saw the dinosaurs and the beauty of the area. So if anybody wants to come out here, and I suggest they do, if you're an artist, the country's fantastic, but if you're an adventurer, you should come along and go to the website, visit dinosaurland.com, and go in there and see the folks. You'll be able to see all the information to actually get out to Vernal and Uintah, the surrounding areas, and come out and enjoy this place. It really is quite amazing. So Deena, why are you using that particular brush to paint those feathers like that?
This gives me that crisp touch on the paper. There's a flat brush. You can use flat brushes, but those are really good for buildings and things like that. But this is a good brush. You want a brush that flips back. If you get a brush that's just not a flipper, you don't want it. So you want a flipper brush. And this one, you can see as I'm painting it, I can get that texture. Now, when I do this, let me show you real quick this process. I kind of like to put in a little bit of a wash. See, I'm going to just kind of come up like this and just put it kind of washy. And if you notice, I just keep coming back to my water. I water and paper towel, and then I come back in and a little bit more pigment and a little less water. And I want it to bleed. That's the thing, is you want to get in that wash and let it bleed. But you got to back off. You got to say, okay, leave it alone. And it's so tempting to just overdo it. I may have done that already, but I have to be really, really careful. I do not overdo this, because otherwise it looks like it's a bird that's going to a party instead of one out in the field.
Just come from a party.
Yeah, maybe just came from a party, that's right.
I'm a little ruffled, so to speak.
Good point. Right now I'm being really careful that I'm getting too dark on the top. The light is coming this way. The dark needs to be underneath the bird as it's coming in, and so I've got to be careful that I'm getting too dark. So watch this trick. And that's the fun part. You got to keep it juicy though. If you don't keep your watercolors juicy, you can't do this. You just come in and kind of lift out a little bit of that. And see, I've gone way too dark on this, so I'm going to lift that out and kind of feather it out. And that way it looks like I didn't do what I really did.
I like that. That's that word, juicy. That's good.
Juicy. Watercolor has to be juicy. Well, right now, I'm still trying to keep that top side. I just want to get so dark on that top side, and I can't because that's where the sunlight's hitting him. But at this point, I want to show you something on the feathers. I've added a little water, or a little pigment, excuse me, a little pigment down here. Mm-hmm. And I want to kind of bleed that. You don't want lines so that it looks like it's lined, but I'm just using water at this point and kind of bleeding it out and letting it do its thing. That's why water's so fun. I always kind of adjust the water with my paper towel so that I'm not just putting a whole bunch of water and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm adding a little and patting it, but I want to come back in here, touch the edge of that because I don't want a hard edge. Watercolor, you've got hard edges and you've got soft edges. And soft edges are what give you the subtleness.
That is the beauty about your watercolors, that they are really subtle.
It's amazing, you know, the paintings that I do that are so detailed and I spend so much time on are the ones that people do not look at. It's the ones who are spontaneously painted and it just bleeds together. That's why I've got to be careful with this eagle, because it's so easy to just get nitpicky with it.
Yeah, you've got one here called Equipment Forgotten, and it's obviously very detailed.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of detail. I mean, obviously you want the machine to look like the machine did.
Yeah.
And you've done a bit of travelling. You said you're in Malaysia at one stage, and you've got a piece called Melanie, which was one of the Malaysian native people that you... Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, we went to Indonesia on a humanitarian mission and worked on the wheelchairs and cataracts, orphanages, and we had the opportunity to travel to some other areas also, and I saw her in her traditional costume, and through the translator I asked if I could take a picture of her, and she said no. She said, no, I don't want a picture. And then after we got to know each other, she said, well, I guess you can take a picture.
Being in this area, there's a lot of probably old rundown farmhouses. I mean, I've seen it gone past places there like ghost towns. And you've got a piece called Old Time Cleanup. There must be some fantastic antique stores around here.
There are. In fact, I go past this house probably 15 minutes away from here. And I just, every time I have to stop and take pictures, and I'd like to do a complete series with just that house of the different seasons.
So what colours have we actually used in this process? Is there ultramarine blue in there somewhere?
There's ultra, and I use sienna, and I don't use a lot of burnt umber. I use, instead of the burnt umber, I use more of the, I love phthalo. Phthalo is a blue, like right there. I just put a little phthalo. If you can see that, there's a little phthalo. I'll put a little bit. Oh, it's just such a stainy, pretty color.
Yeah. And you very much get a lot of pleasure from teaching kids and adults, young adults, and rehabilitating the gentlemen that come out of jails as well, who are, funnily enough, are right-brained people that live very much in a left-brain world.
That's really true. The kids are amazing because they just get in and do it and don't worry about if it's perfect or not. I wish we were more. It's too bad that we change and think that we have to be a certain way, because the kiddies will come in here and just start having a lot of fun. As far as the rehabilitation part, yes, you're right. Gosh, I had the opportunity to teach in a rehab center, and I gave them in, and they were just out of prison, and I gave them in big canvases and oil paints and just told them to go at it. I did not give them any instruction, and it was amazing to me to see the beauty that they painted. And then we had an art show for them, and because of the situation they were in, we could not put their name on their papers, but they let them actually come and be part of that art show. And it was so fun to see their confidence build up. I have to put a plug in for education. We just need more and more art in our schools. We had it, and now we're kind of removing some of the art from our schools, and we need the aesthetics in our classroom.
Very much so, very much so. You know, when you consider that over a third of the people that are born into the world are right-brained people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and we live in a left-brain world. I mean, how do you balance that out?
That's right. Okay, now I'm going to get into the face, because I kind of need to know the balance of what I've got going on here. And the beak has got the strongest color here in the front, but I've got to be careful I don't just stay with that color. While it's wet, then I'm going to come in with a gamboge on top of the cad.
Gamboge.
Gamboge, I love that name.
Lovely, lovely name, lovely colour.
Yeah. The gamboge has got a real warm color. The cad is more of a cool color. And then with the nose, I can't just paint it like this. I've got to come up and kind of round it. And so I'm going to use water, no paint, bleed that together and let that round so that there's a dimension on that nose.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to go in with a little burnt sienna and a little tiny bit of purple. I'm going to come and flick it kind of, so that these are those feathers that just kind of like a bad hair day.
I haven't had one for years. Thank goodness.
I'm having one right now.
So tell me a little bit more about the Pitcher Spring Runs. Whereabouts is that?
That's in Zion. And in the springtime, that runoff in Zion just runs down those red rocks, and oh my goodness, it is beautiful. It just pulmates down through the rock into the stream below. But this time of year, they've had so much water with the monsoons that it is doing that now. But oh, talk about beautiful. And that's where that is. Okay, now this I've got to be really careful with, because if I put that pupil in, it's going to bleed into the iris. So I may just move on and put a little bit more texture in here for just a few minutes. Now I'm going to use just a little soft lavender here, which sounds really weird for a bird. But I want to get in, I don't want this all white. And I'm just going to kind of come off. Now see how strong that is? I don't want that. But I'm going to come in the water, tap it, and then kind of bleed that out a little bit just to give a texture that this is, you know that this is not totally white. And so we want to just kind of dirty it up a little bit, but not all over, just in certain areas, so that we can get that look like he's been maybe eating snow or something. Okay, I'm going to leave the face for a while. I'm worried about the eyes being wet and then putting those pupils in. I do not want those black pupils to bleed out into the iris, so I'm going to let all this dry a little bit, but it's the same process. I'll just go ahead and continue to add a little bit more depth to it very easily. But now it's a glaze. I'm going to use my flat brush on this one and water, and this is going to just be really light, a lot of liquid, not much pigment, to tie all of this busyness in. There's a lot of stuff going on, and now I just need to tie it up. So I'm going to try and get several different colors that I've used in here and just make it really, really a tea consistency. Really, 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 really tea. And I've used a little of the yellow, but not a lot. And so it's just, if you can see that, I don't know, but I want to use a lot of water. It's a one-time shot. I'm not going to go over and over it again because it'll make it muddy. So I'm just going to kind of hit that and bring those colors in. The purples will definitely bleed, and that's what I want it to do. And I'll never go back over it. And you can go back over it after it dries, but I can't go over it twice like this, or it will just turn into mud.
Great techniques, Deena, and I think if anybody even in the Uintah area or Salt Lake City or Vernal would like to come along and do one of Deena's workshops, they can go to her website at deena.fineartstudioonline.com. So go in and get in touch with her, see her wonderful work in there, and just a lovely lady as well. I think you would just enjoy the day with her regardless.
Thank you so much. And every day painting is a good day.
And you've got another piece here. I just think it's wonderful with the reds and the blues that you've got in there and the yellows. It's a fantastic piece. It's called Grandma's Path, and it's actually out near St. George in Utah, which is where one of the galleries that you work with is. It's Gallery 35. Mm-hmm. And in the same area, you're also a member of the Southern Utah Arts Guild. Mm-hmm. So you're a busy woman that gets around a lot, I can see that.
You know, the fun part is going down and meeting the people down there. Great people down in Southern Utah. Utah Watercolour is also a great place. Where I live out in Vernal, you kind of get lost out here a little bit. So to take your art and go take some workshops, be part of the associations that are around. There's one in Mesquite. Great workshop areas to go to and great associations to belong to.
Sounds wonderful.
I've added some wets in here, and I really feel like if I continue to add wets, I'm going to end up with mud. So I think I'll let this dry for a few days, set it up in my fireplace and walk by it every day, every minute, I don't know, and look at it, edit it like you do with your computers, and we'll go from there.
Well, we have had a fabulous day with you, Deena, and met some amazing people while we've been in Vernal, and because of the beauty of editing, you can now see the final piece, which looks absolutely spectacular. But thank you so much for having us in your studio. A great studio, great town, and a wonderful woman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and Sophia for coming. We appreciate the Australians coming to Vernal, Utah.
All right, well, an amazing town with amazing people, Deena. Thank you so much for having us in your studio.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's been wonderful. The people that we've met have been amazing. The locations, the national parks, the dinosaurs, which is so cool. I loved being down there. That was fantastic. Your work as well. Now, if you want to come in and see Deena and do some of her workshops and either come out to Vernal and just see the area, you can go to deena.fineartstudioonline.com and you can go in and ask some questions of her and also her workshops. Come to the area. It really is a beautiful place. Going down those rivers, fantastic. I'd love to come back and do it. You can come in and see us at colorinyourlife.com.au and come to our Facebook page and our YouTube page as well. Lots of stuff going on there also. And then sign up to be a member in the website. We've got some pretty amazing things going on these days, and there's a lot of benefits for artists that come in and be part of what we're doing. But we're going to head off now. We're crossing the country again. Pretty amazing country without a doubt. And we're off to Colorado. But as we always say, remember, until we see you again, make sure you put some Vernal and some colour in your life. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
man.
Bye.